Episode 226. Today we're joined by MLB.com's Alex Stumpf to discuss the recent changes with the Pittsburgh Pirates. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Or the steak by the plate, send in case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snakes.
Welcome back to another episode of Bucko Banner. We are now joined by our favorite, I emphasize favorite Pirates beat reporter, Alex Stumpf. Alex, welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me. And I needed the glazing, so thank you for that too.
Absolutely. You deserve it after what you've had to endure this entire season. Hey, you made it, right? You're still standing on 2 feet, maybe barely, but you're here, right?
Wobbling a bit, but yeah, we made it.
Absolutely. Well, they didn't really leave much time to let us gather our thoughts, right? A lot has happened since the season ended on Sunday. Obviously, we have playoff baseball going on right now, but in the world of the Pirates, they extended Don Kelly almost immediately. So let's get into that. It seemed like about a month ago or so, you could kind of feel that he was coming back. Everything pointed in that direction. Nobody really had a gauge on whether Ben Cherington was going to come back, which we'll get into a little bit later. But first reaction on extending Don Kelly, how did you feel about the press conference? And do you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts?
I think Don Kelly is going to be a good major league manager. So, like, this is having a good major league manager in place. You can't really argue with it. He listens to his players. He shows them that he does really care. And the fact that he spent 9 years playing on 1-year contracts in the major leagues, that carried a lot of weight in this room. It's one of those, I am telling you what I had to do to get this far. I had a good long career. You guys can too. So I think that carried a lot of weight. I think the fact that he listened, I'm not surprised that he came back. I think it's a good thing that he came back. There's got to be a lot of changes to his coaching staff, though, that I candidly didn't see all coming.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Donnie Kelly, and I say Donnie Kelly, Dahnnie, right? Mm-hmm. Big fan, and I'm happy that he's back. Not too surprised by that, but it doesn't matter unless they add to this team, right? Like, anyone could be manager. We could bring in, Sparky Anderson or Casey Stengel, and it wouldn't matter if you don't add to this team, right? Let's talk about the changes happening on the coaching staff. It was just announced that Oscar Marin was fired, and they let go of Mike Rabello. They I don't know if there was anyone else. Check me there.
Brent Strom.
Strom might retire. How much of that is Donnie Kelly wanting to assemble his own people, and how much of that, especially in the terms of Oscar Marin, are players potentially, like the pitching staff, saying we want a different voice?
I mean, I'm going to start off by saying that Donnie deserves autonomy to build his coaching staff.
Sure.
Like, just because he took over for Derek Shelton doesn't mean that he has to roll with Derek Shelton's team or coaching staff. The Oscar Marin dismissal, contract not being renewed, I found kind of surprising, but apparently the players, this was a pretty unified, I don't want to say like 100%, but it was just like a general consensus from the players, like, hey, we would appreciate a new voice. We would rather take things in a different direction. And the Pirates and Kelly are honoring that, and they're going to try to find a new voice right there. It still was surprising to me just because how well they have improved over the last 4 or 5 years on the pitching staff. And I know the counter argument is going to be, well, the talent pool has improved. You've added top 100 prospects like Paul Skeens and Jared Jones and Bubba Chandler. But on the offensive side, you added top 100 prospects like Henry Davis, and Peguero was top 100 at the time. And, there's a list there, and it didn't help the offense. So having someone who can have those guys translate what they're doing well in the minor leagues to the majors, I find personally valuable. I think very highly of Oscar as a pitching coach. I'm sure he is going to be snatched up by someone soon. But this was something that the pitching staff felt. And even though that was kind of like the one part of this team that I thought really clicked or delivered on what they could be in 2025, you got to honor, in my opinion, the players for that. So this was a player-driven decision. With Stromey, while I'm just on the pitching side real fast here, he put in his resignation 6 weeks ago. He and Oscar had a really good relationship. Coming in, Brent said that, I want to do less coaching. I want to do more teaching. And he just spent a whole year teaching, and he, had a great time doing that. But he kind of saw, he was surprised, but he kind of saw some writing on the wall, and he's like, well, I don't want to be an assistant pitching coach for someone else. I wanted to be an assistant pitching coach for Oscar because he gave me control of what I wanted to do. So it became a case of, well, I'm not going to come back. So you're losing two really good pitching coaches in my opinion.
I mean, hey, Ethan Katz is available for the White Sox. I don't know if you've seen that name bounce around, but he's a big pitching guru. I know it's a White Sox, but this is a guy that has pedigree in the game. And then also, it's, to me, hearing that it might be a player-driven decision, to think that this current pitching staff thinks that they can bring it to another level speaks volumes.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I also have a hard time. I have a hard time digesting, a group that, was borderline elite and wanting to be, actually elite, super elite, and letting go of a coach whenever everything else was kind of not working. Like it's hard whenever there's there are three aspects of this team. There's hitting, there's fielding, and there's pitching. Fielding was pretty good at the end of the day. Pitching was really good. Hitting was abysmal. I have a hard time, saying, yeah, it's the pitching coach that should be let go in that equation, even though I'm not sure Hague is coming back as hitting coach. So we're going to see what all.
Yeah, we'll hop into the rest of the staff, but just sticking on this topic, if it's player driven, has this been the case in the past where during exit interviews or what it may be going into the end of the season that players have voiced their concerns over guys on the staff, or is this something new that the tides are turning a little bit and we're seeing a little bit of a difference in how they run this club?
I mean, they always take input in there. I mean, I never had it confirmed, but I always suspected that player input was a big factor for Andy Haynes last year. Yeah, I mean, this isn't completely unheard of. They do want player input on coaching changes. It's just been a kind of stagnant coaching staff the last couple of years.
Right.
On the topic of player input, like how much input do you think Paul Skeens has within the organization? Because I know we had the quotes from him at the end of the year about the team and the current state of the franchise. How far down is that going to resonate within this front office?
He has more say than I think any pitcher on this staff right now. Like, he is viewed as the leader. He is viewed as the face of the franchise. His voice carries something. I don't know how often he speaks up, for matters like this. But I have a hard time believing that kids being told from multiple sources that, it was a player-driven decision for Oscar. I have a hard time believing Paul wasn't, signing off on that. And that's, not to vilify Paul or any pitcher on this staff for it. But I think if you want to have player-driven decisions, he is going to probably be the guy who is one of the main driving factors of that.
Well, let's go into the rest of the staff. I mean, you mentioned kind of that it might not be over. We know Rebello's gone. We don't have to dive too far into that. I think that kind of makes sense, right? If we're looking at the grand scheme of things, but are they done, or are there more changes coming? And if they haven't come already, why? Like, is it just kind of like, hey, we're not sure yet? You'd think they'd have some type of certainty of what they wanted to do since they already let go of two guys.
I mean, the two guys they let go of, their contracts were up at the end of the year. And like I said, Stromey put in his resignation at the end of the year in like mid-August. So that's why those news came out. I don't think it's completely – I don't think they're done, candidly. Like, I don't know if it's firings. I don't know if it's reassigning people to new roles, whatever the case might be. I think there are going to be further changes to this coaching staff. And like I said, early on, like, Don Kelly deserves the right to build a coaching staff in his image. Like, this is going to be the first time really that he's had that power. He should be able to build that culture, build that ideology that he wants out of his coaches. So I would not be at all surprised if the Pirates go into next year with a new hitting coach, a new pitching coach, and a new bench coach. That is a pretty drastic overhaul as far as coaching staffs go.
Absolutely. How about let's talk about the state of the franchise real quick here, Alex. I mean, we had the big press conference this week, and Charrington is being brought back. There's a lot of confidence in him from the president, Travis Williams, and the organization to bring this team into the playoffs in 2026. I'm in the mode of, as a Pirates fan, you know what? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to shut up. Just prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. How should Pirates fans be feeling going into this offseason?
I mean, this is a big offseason. It's
huge.
This is, I mean, I've really been thinking about it. Like, when was the last time they had an offseason this big? And it might be, 2019, whenever they fired everyone. You could make a case for last year where, that ended up being a big nothing burger. But I kind of look at this as the 2012 offseason again, where it's not only you got to try to get over the hump, there are jobs on the line. There is, this whole rebuild might be for naught if they don't compete in 2026. So to go back to what, fans should be feeling, I kind of take that same approach too. They wanted to make a lot more trades last offseason than they ended up making. Like the Horwitz trade, they thought that was going to be like one of 3 or 4 style trades, get that caliber player in. Obviously didn't happen. I imagine they're going to go into this offseason looking to make 3 or 4 type of trades where you add those type of impact players in there. What happens if they don't? What happens if you can't attract free agents right here? What happens if it's late January again and you don't have a corner outfielder? Like, could you literally go back to Tommy Pham again? Like, you have to upgrade this roster. The hitting was simply not good enough. And I have a hard time, justifying we'll just trade all the pitching, because while I think Spencer Horwitz had a good year at the end of the day, and, the trade is a net positive, he put up half as much WAR as Luis Ortiz did in 2024. And the Pirates gave up prospects on top of that. Like that, if you want to just talk strictly wins, that is not a great baseball trade in the vacuum of 2025. Now, right now it looks great, but it's you gotta find a way to supplement this team. And I don't know how much resources they're going to have dollar-wise. I have little confidence that payroll is going to go up. They do have some, financial flexibility after trading Hayes and Bednar, and the long anticipated Keller trade will probably, free up some more cash. But I don't know how that really excites the fan, though, of like, hey, we could spend money because we just traded 2 players we signed to a long-term contract and a local kid that everyone loved. Like, you've got to find a way to improve this team. And if I'm a fan, I want to see it. I want to see it before I make any sort of commitment towards this 2026 team.
You just mentioned that you're skeptical from trading from pitching depth. Would you trade Keller? Like if you were running the team right now, is that your move?
I have a hard time trading Keller, and here's why. Jerry Jones is coming back from his elbow surgery. Braxton Ashcraft and Hunter Barco just for the first time hit 100 innings pitched. Bubba Chandler, solid dude, but he's never thrown 140, I believe, as a pro in a season. Mike Burrows coming off of Tommy John surgery in 2023. Johan Oviedo, Tommy John surgery in 2023. I don't have there's a lot of depth here, and I think they have, quality there, but I could see a roadmap where this turns out to be a disaster. I like, having Mitch there for 30-something starts, knowing what I'm going to get for that price point. I have a hard time just justifying, oh, yeah, he's gone no matter what. Like, I do think he will be traded, but if I was running the team, I would have to be wowed. I would want Mitch Keller back on my team. I would want a clubhouse leader on this team. I wouldn't want it just to be a foregone conclusion, well, I'm trading him because he's due to make, what is it, like $16.5 million? Like,
right.
You could make that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of the pitching staff is being paid the minimum. You can make 16 and a half for a good middle of the rotation arm veteran work.
Yeah. I guess my concern is just getting the return, right? Like everybody scoffed at the return for David Bednar. And obviously in the past, the returns haven't been great, especially when it comes to bats. Like you mentioned like getting wowed. I think at this point we can't trade guys where you said you know what you're going to get from them and they're going to be solid major league arms for guys that potentially could be good, down the road or haven't really broken through yet, but they're kind of there. It has to be somebody who's going to be a positive WAR guy that's going to play 162, like who's going to contribute to this team significantly in order to make that move. So, and I just don't know if I trust the front office to do that. Now, maybe they bring in some people that change their minds or they finally take that risk moving forward, but it's hard to like really get behind at this point.
Well, I mean, it's fair. I mean, what hitting acquisitions have they made that really panned out?
I think Spencer Horwitz is going to be a good piece.
Yeah, he's a good. He's also not going to be the 30 home run type guy. I mean, he is a 2 to 3 WAR player, in my opinion, which is totally valuable. That is a good baseball player. I do not want to dog him, but he cannot be your best hitter.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know if they have acquired a hitter who has performed better than him. I mean, am I missing?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not this regime, at least. And that brings me to one other player, Stumpf. O'Neal Cruz had what I would define as a pretty disappointing season, right? Like, I think if anything, you can't miss up the middle, especially for a team that has very little margin for error as a small market team. You've got to shore up those up the middle positions. What is the future for O'Neal Cruz in Pittsburgh, or is there one?
The best I could say is Don Kelly is all in on the kid. Like, he really does believe in him. He wants to go all in. So that's why I don't think O'Neal Cruz is going to be, traded this offseason. Now, does he reach his potential in Pittsburgh? That is a completely different question.
Sure.
Because he did not play well under Don Kelly, like whatever the factors were. But I will say that at the end of the year, his ankle really was, messed up. And he played, that second to last game of the season, a completely meaningless baseball game in the grand scheme of things. He wanted to show that he can do it. So that carries some weight for me. Like, as bad as this year was, I can't write him off. And I don't think this offense is in a position where you could write him off. Like, he is, as bad as this year was, he still was 2020. He still led the National League in stolen bases. He grew defensively as a center fielder. If he can just, whatever was ailing him offensively, get on base more, hit, those extra 10 home runs that everyone knows you can hit, maybe new voices on the hitting side. Like I said, there are going to be changes to this coaching staff. Maybe some of them resonate with him and he's able to unlock some stuff. But I can't give up on him. I fully expect him to be the Pirates center fielder in 2026, but this is the make or break year. There is no more. You could just, bank on potential with him.
I mean, I think you need to bring in more help when it comes to Brock. I like Tarek Brock. I think he's a great coach, but do we need more assistance in that realm? Because I mean, he still had a -14 DRS out there.
What was his outs above average? I remember that being
his outs above average was 0.
Okay.
So, I mean, there were times where at the beginning of the season, there was obvious mental errors and wasn't taking the right route. And even when he was getting there, it didn't look great. And then you're like, oh, something's clicking. And he's finally getting a feel for the ground out there. He understands his speed and what he can and can't get to. And then it kind of just started reverting back slightly to I'm not so certain about what's going on. I mean, is it more of just we got to coach this up a little bit more? Do we need to add more to that department? They created jobs last year. Is that something they do this year again?
It can be. I will say, just for, since you brought up T-Brock in general, he does resonate with Cruz. And like I said, the defensive improvement in center field, at least eye test for me. I know there's some really bad cases example here. That's why the 14 defensive runs saved, surprised me. I admit I hadn't looked at that. I've been just looking at OAA. but he resonates as a base stealer. He resonates as a defensive coach. Christian Marrero, he's not the O'Neal Cruz coach. He is, the Spanish-speaking hitting coach, assistant hitting coach. He talked in the past about how, his work resonated. He was able to translate it. I don't know if you bring him back, if you, make another change for a hitting coach. Yeah. But to answer your question, I think you very much have to explore adding to this coaching staff in different ways, like they did last year with Strum. That was a addition that I think paid off well, even if it was just a one and done for him in the dugout. So you got to look at that, and I think you really got to look at offensive development in particular with this group.
Yeah, absolutely. Stumpf, my last question for you, and it's not Pirates related. Give us a World Series pick.
I like the Mariners. Maybe I'm just, smitten by the idea of, a team hoisting it for the first time, but they've been fun to watch. I appreciate that they went out of their comfort zone to get Suarez at the trade deadline. Naylor, but Suarez in particular, that was the guy that the clubhouse wanted. It just that whole saga, and landing him was, I think, a great message from the front office to the players. This is how much I believe in you. Go do it. So my pick would be the Mariners over the Brewers.
Over the Brewers.
Yeah. Love that.
Love that. What we had
Seattle Pilots Bowl.
Yeah. Absolutely. Love that pick. Well, Stumpf, I'm sure you'll be on the show many times this offseason. Take it easy, take some deep breaths, relax a little bit, and then get back to work.
Some self-care stuff. Right? Come on.
We're doing a little self-care after I do my first playoff series this weekend, so I'm gonna have fun with that.
Absolutely. Nice. All right, man. We'll see you next time.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates and